G'day, gang. I wanted to talk today about lighting in video games. So for me, this is a particularly big topic because of how much lighting can do for the entire feel, aesthetic, and the way in which that you can tell a story even without having a story, just through this one graphic option, graphic design. I think for me, I really enjoy stylized graphics, just to start. The like higher realism stuff isn't as appealing to me as something that that has more, not cartoonish, but with a style, with an intentional vision of graphics. So that to me is a particular more significant. So for me, of course, that means that lighting is going to be much better, much more significant, because you can have a very easy and simple stylized graphic style and then have the lighting completely redefine how it looks. So it's a big topic. But I think too, the way that lighting can tell a story is so much broader than I think that people really give it credit for. Like example of as always, a really good a really good way of explaining it is through the setup of a Bethesda game, like walking through a cave, something like that, and you see like a ray of light shining on a particular area, object, or some such thing, pointing you in the right direction. Lighting can just easily be an arrow without having to write a single line of dialogue or any such story. You can just see that already, giving you access to a quest item, or even just a really, really cool weapon or armor upgrade, something like that. Or a really, critical part of the story, like like in a Bethesda game, a corpse that's holding a journal, stuff like that. But lighting too, setting the scene and making it obvious when something is bright and happy. And then you can also obviously always shatter that illusion by having like a big boss fight in that arena or something like that. Or have that be a moment that players can take a breath, the characters in the game can take a breath. And then the dark and grimy scenes, which are always my favorite. The lighting can completely redefine that, even if the graphics aren't gritty and high fidelity. You can just have simple graphics, and the lighting can completely make that a unsettling and scary, ominous scene. And I think that you can play those elements through with how the story is designed, if it's a story game, and just have like little bits and pieces of story in those moments. I think it's a particularly cool element. And I think for me, lighting is visually the most important part, other than having a cohesive design for what you want your game to look like as a designer, which I think you can tell. But having this beautiful cohesive work and then the lighting on top, I think it can make some of the most beautiful games, even if the graphics are really bad. And I think my favorite example is Valheim. Valheim has obviously not very impressive graphics. That's kind of the point. Well, one of the points. But the lighting is so cool that I'll be sitting there in my stupid base hearing, okay, we're being attacked again. The classic. I'll go out there, but as I'm going out, I can see like light coming through the windows and like just light just redefining how the graphics would otherwise look, and I have to take a moment to just enjoy how that looks, and I think that is really cool. Another example is a game I think that people really don't talk about because it wasn't very popular, but one of my favorites in lighting was Nightingale. Recent. I say recent, somewhat recent. The graphics were pretty uninspired. It had good art design, but the graphics were pretty nothing to really write home about. I think it did look cool, but everyone's got a different opinion on that. But the lighting in the game, it made me want to design bases over and over again, even though I didn't have any need to do that. And really would have been better if I was out farming for stuff, because it's one of those games that's, it's nice to have a lot of stuff in that one, but a lot of different materials so you can learn what to make into your armor. It's a pretty cool game, but it didn't hit. Pretty cool elements that didn't quite work together. That's another video. That's a whole other video. But lighting redefined the way that I felt about the game. And I think it was actually one of the big reasons that I wanted to stay in the sort of safe areas of the game, because it was really cool to keep building and seeing how I could make like light on my base look really cool. And small land is another really good example of that. I really, really like the style of that game though. I think they did a lot better job with how they made their game look and how small you feel, like set against this massive world. And I think that sort of design, being so cohesive and beautiful, and then just adding the lighting on top to make it look so particularly cool, I think is awesome. So lighting is a very, very powerful tool, and I think it's not really talked about enough in game design, or as gamers, we don't really talk about it enough. Like, we talk about the mechanics and the story, but we kind of sleep on the things that pull it all together. And I think sound design is another one that I am pretty obsessed with. And I think, like, I see stuff like examples of the sound design being so good in games like New World. Oh my gosh, I actually literally forgot the name of that. Where, that you hear like a little ting of someone mining off in the distance, and then you're like, I'm flagged for PvP. Are they also flagged for PvP? And those fun little moments because of how good the sound design was. And in the same vein, you hear a shot in the distance from like PUBG or DayZ, and you run towards it trying to work out if that's prey or if you're going to be the prey. Those sorts of moments are awesome and only achieved because of how good these supplementary elements are, but that become essential. It's so easy to think of lighting as just this addition. It's so easy to think of like the amount of time you put into sound design as being, again, supplementary, but really, really good lighting and sound design completely redesign the look, feel, the setting, and how you play the game. And I think lighting is a really good example in particular because it doesn't need to be there in in the way that it's there. You can have really, really basic lighting and still have a very functional game. It's not the same for sound, obviously, because sound is a pretty big part of gameplay. But with lighting, you can have it be incredibly basic and still have the game be entirely functional. But you can tell that there is an extraordinary difference between the way that it looks and feels and the way that you feel when you play the game. And it's just, I could list so many games for days that have, really uninspired, or that have basic, like asset pack graphics. And I think, I don't know, I'm not involved in the understanding of the developmental sort of like loop or whatever have you of The Forest, for example. I don't know if they used assets, but it looks like they did, which is no insults, no issues, no problem. But the lighting was so good that the moments of peace and comfort feel really, really good. And then in the dark, you hear the screams of like the locals as they're running around, and you see like lights in the distance, and you're like, I don't know about that, man. That guy looks like the big one. Maybe I can go the other direction. Like, lighting plays such a massive role in completely redefining how you feel about it. And I really, like I said, I could sit here and go over and over and over it again. And another video that I really want to make is, I think, my favorite survival game of all time, V Rising, where lighting isn't just aesthetic. I think this is my favorite example because the sun hurts. Like, the lighting is literally a mechanic that kills you. So I think there are so many games that are defined by how good lighting design can be, or at least repainted in your memory because of how good or how bad it can be. And I think, it's an element that that we need to talk about more because of how cool it is, and we need to kind of encourage devs, please make good lighting, because lighting good, make game good. If it's already good, obviously. But yeah, how do you guys feel about lighting? How do you feel about those dingy, scary places that you go that feels like so absent in light that it feels like something was stolen from you? Or those moments that are really, really bright, that it feels kind of sickly sweet. Like, do those moments hit really hard? Do you have like moments in video games that you can also point to? Gosh, I could go on again. Remnant, another awesome example of lighting that really hits, making that game feel so much darker and brighter in moments, precious and uncomfortable moments. Yeah, really interested in what you guys think on this one, because it's hard to get specific because it's such a big topic. Oh, hello. Can I help you? But it's a really big topic, and I think that some games do it so well that it almost feels like it defines the game. Even though, again, this is just something on top of what is already a good product in most cases, in terms of it being good, or already on top of something that is already bad. Yeah, love to hear how you guys feel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.